Welcome back to my next playthrough series. This time we're continuing on with Aeons and Legacy. We're up to Chapter 6, Strength of Mind. So let's get into the story cards and find out what's going on. Alright, Chapter 6, Introduction. The rumors were true. Maelstrom has awakened. Our scouts remain vigilant, watching over the sinkhole that appears when Gravehold was destroyed, but it's only a matter of time before Maelstrom rises again. Malistar has returned to the Forge, working on new equipment for you, tools to be used in the fight against Maelstrom. He has located a strange, powerful ore on the surface that could be used to further augment his craft. This ore is guarded by a terrible nameless called Deathmind. After the initial squad returned with most of their memories wiped, our scouts kept their distance. And we read the back of L39. I should say the front of L39. Here we go, Chapter 6 Introduction continued. Using the information gained from the scouts, Brahma has made a plan. Her time under the control of fungal mesh has given her a unique insight into the mental powers of the Nameless. Brahma will travel with you and fortify your mental pathways, acting as an anchor for your memories, to keep Deathmind at bay. As it eats memories and destroys neural pathways, Brahma will restore them. She will help you channel your powers and maintain your thoughts as you battle the Nameless. With her help, you hope to come out the other side with your thoughts intact. And we read the back of this card. Okay, it says Open Playmat, labeled Chapter 6, which we just saw at the very beginning. I've done that. Open Stop 5-6 deck, did that as well. Combine all the Deathmind Nemesis cards with the basic Nemesis cards used last game to form the Nemesis deck, following the instructions on page 10 of the rulebook. I've already got that all set up. Do not reveal any cards beyond Stop 5-6, did that. Card in the middle of the deck. Fight Deathmind. Read the front of card L40 after your first game versus Deathmind. Alright, this is the Nemesis we're facing, so set up. Arrange the supply in 3x3 grid. Place the piles of gems. Start at the top row, the rune relics. Finally, spells with each card type. Arrange the piles by cost, least expensive to most expensive. You'll see that in a second. Read the additional rules on the other side of this mat. We'll do that too here in a minute. About bridge tokens, then choose 6 spaces orthogonally between supply piles. Place a bridge token in each of the 6 spaces. Place them so that each of the tokens between the 2 piles, and there is at most 1 token between each 2 piles. Place Sever Link into play with 3 power tokens. What is Sever Link? Oh, it's a delightful card, let me tell you. It's this one right here, and we're going to be using these lovely green little fish tank crystals to keep track of it. It says when the last power token is removed from this card, remove it immediately. Resolve it immediately. Power 3. So it's going to trigger every third time the Nemesis goes. Deathmind severs a neural bridge. Discard a bridge token in play if you can't. Gravehold suffers 20 damage. Wow, do not discard this card from play. Instead, just keep adding another 3 power tokens. Ooh, let's take a look now at the back of Deathmind. Alright, so he starts out with a measly 80 health. And Unleash, remove a power token from Sever Link. Yeah, so every time he goes, we're going to be removing a power token. Additional rules, and we're not doing increased difficulty because this game, for me, is difficult enough. Players cannot gain the last card in a supply pile, so they have to leave at least 1 card in supply piles. During any player's main phase, that player can spend 5 ether or lose 4 pulse tokens to establish a neural bridge with Brahma, and place a bridge token between any 2 orthogonally adjacent supply piles. Bridge tokens cannot be placed between 2 supply piles which already have a bridge token, and supply piles with bridge tokens between them are connected. 2 supply piles are connected if a path can be traced from 1 supply pile to the other via bridge tokens. And at the very bottom, when a player gains a card from a supply pile not connected to the first supply pile in the top row, that player suffers 2 damage. Oh, so it's going to get difficult to even recruit or get some of the cards we want. Let's take a look at how I've set up the supply pile and the cards that are in there. Alright, so this is how I've arranged the bridge tokens. So we'll look at these cards closer here in a second. So we can, of course, recruit this one and this one without taking damage. Also these 2, because everything's, as long as they're connected to the top row. So we've got to keep this link in check. And we can get breach connection and bending beam. So that's how they're hooked up. Let's take a little bit closer look at all the cards that we can purchase here very quickly. We've seen them all in previous playthroughs of Aeons and Legacy. We'll do a quick recap of all the cards, and then we're going to take a look at Dethmaydn and Astria, our 2 breach mages that we've been playing through the whole campaign with. And then that's probably going to be it for today for our introductory episode. We got everything set to go. So let's take a quick look at these cards. Alright, so to run down the cards quickly. 4 gems, we've got the Soothing Torporine, costing us 3 ether, gain 2 ether, or silence a minion, always useful. The next gem we have is the Entangled Shard, gain 2 ether. If you have 3 or more charges, gain an additional charge, costing us 4. And the final gem we have the Phased Portalite, costing 4 ether, gain 2 ether. If your 3 breach is opened, gain an additional ether, which is really good for Astria, as you'll see here in a minute. And then we have our Neural Wreath, costing 4 ether. Focus any player's breach. Any player may prep a spell in hand. I love it. This is one of my favorites. And then we have the Voltaic Relay, costing 4. Any player gains 3 pulse tokens. That player may lose a pulse token. If they do, they destroy a card in hand. So we can thin down our hand a little bit as we go along. And of course, remember, we need pulse tokens to try and connect bridges between spells. And then we have the costing 2, the Fire Shocker, deal 2 damage. It's a low cost spell, low damage spell, but it's useful. Then we have the Breach Communion, costing 4. While prepped, once per turn during your main phase, you may gain 1 pulse token. And then to cast, deal 2 damage. You may lose 2 pulse tokens if you do deal 3 additional damage. So that's a good one to chain off of the Voltaic Relay. And then Bending Beam, one of my favorites, costing 5. Deal 2 damage. If the spell is cast from open breach 3, deal 3 additional damage. So it can be a 5 damage spell. And lastly, which isn't connected anywhere with a bridge token right now, is the Gravity Node, costing 5. Any player discards a card in hand if they do deal 4 damage. Alright, that's what's in our purchase pile. Let's take a quick look now, I guess, at Dethmaydn and Astria, and then I think we're wrapping it up for today. Alright, first up we'll have a quick look at Dethmaydn here. This is her starting hand. She has her Bug Zapper, which has a couple abilities on there. Deal a damage. If it damages a minion, deal an additional damage, and you gain a charge. And then she's got some crystals, and of course they are specific to the character. And then there's some cracked crystals that we got, I think from the last time we played, gain an ether that cannot be used to buy a spell. So the cracked ether cards we cannot buy spells with. So that's her starting hand, and then she has a spark and 4 crystals in her draw pile. Her breaches are set like this, as per her thing. Ignite. At the start of your first turn of the game, gain 2 charges. So we have to remember that when we start playing. And she's got Bug Smasher, which is her, when she fires off all her charges, deal 7 damage to the minion, and if you have 4 or less life, gain 2 life. And starting with 10 health. So that's Dethmaydn. Let's take a look at Astria. Alright, taking a look at Astria, we have her starting hand here. She's got Lifebringer. That's a gem. Gain an ether. If you have 3 or more open breaches, gain a life. Pretty cool. And you may place a different gem you played this turn on top of your deck. So that's pretty cool. She has a spark. And then she's got, of course, just regular crystals. And she's got 1 cracked crystal in her hand. Alright, and in her draw pile, she has 2 sparks and 3 more crystals. And her special ability to start Forced Focus. At the start of your first turn of the game, Focus Breach 3 twice. That's going to open it, which is nice. She's going to start right off with 2 open breaches. And Lifewell is when she fires off all 6 of her charges. Of course, it costs 2 ether to gain 1 charge. And that's activate during the main phase. Any player gains 3 life, so herself or Dethmaydn. And Gravehold gains 2 life, so she's all about pumping the life back into the game. And then I guess we're going to zoom out. And we're going to wrap up for today. I know it's a very short episode. It was just introductory. And then when we come back tomorrow, we're going to have our first full turn, which will be the Nemesis going twice, Astria going twice, Dethmaydn going twice, and of course random turn order. And why do I have a funny feeling this is going to be a nasty game? Alright, so we have our turn order deck. Of course, it has Dethmaydn in here, the Nemesis, Astria twice. So everyone's in here twice. This will get shuffled, of course, at the beginning of next episode, so you know that it's not all cooked up, which it never is, trust me. And then we're going to get into trying to take on Deathmind. We've already got his deck all set up, so we have the number 1 cards on the top, then 2s, then 3s. So we got all the basic Nemesis cards shuffled in with the specific Deathmind cards. There's 3 for each phase for him, plus all the basic ones we've already been collecting along the way. So I think without anything else going on, I think I've covered everything off. We're going to get into the playthrough next time. So these are the silence tokens for using the silence spell. These are shield tokens, and we also have, of course, the pulse tokens. And you can never have more than 5 pulse tokens at any one time. And that's another little rule. And then, yes, I use the little mini dice to put on the minions when they come out, just to keep track of them. And Gravehold starts with 30 health, so we have to do 80 damage to Deathmind, keep Gravehold from going to 0. Of course, one of us can be knocked out to 0, but that's not really a good idea, so we don't want to do that, and we both start with 10 health. So thanks so much for watching along. Thanks for your comments, subscriptions, likes. This is Aeons and Legacy. We're on to Chapter 6. Not sure how many chapters. I think there's either 7 or 8. Not quite sure. There might be 8. Could even be 9. And I guess I can flash this up really quickly if you want to read through that. That's the player turn. You get a casting phase, a main phase, a draw phase, and then, yes, the lovely Nemesis turn. And that's what you do for the Nemesis. All right, that's it. Thanks so much. See you tomorrow, and we'll start the actual gameplay. Aeons and Legacy, Chapter 6, Strength of Mind.